Hey up, Front Row Racing DP here, otherwise known as Dave, and I am on day 3, I think, of continuous streaming. Obviously it's not continuous because I've not been on all the time, every hour, every day, but it is my 3rd day in a row. I did say I was going to try and do a week, and that is what we're on. Okay, now for this session I'm doing a you decide what I drive, so it will be down to the viewers to pick my cars for me, as long as we get some viewers, which hopefully we will. Now I am going to set myself a time limit of 4 hours maximum. The reason for that is that if I 1, 2, 3, that's 4. Okay, yeah, if I go over the 4 hours, it means I've got to split the video into lots of clips instead of just 2 long clips. So I'm going with I'll go with 4 hours, less than 4 hours, then I can split it into 2 clips. Okay, just make sure that the alarm I'm setting is for 4 hours, 3 hours 49 minutes, so that is the alarm set. Okay, at the bottom of the page we've got details of the league that I'm involved with, Front Row Racing. You can find us on Facebook if you want to have a look at what we're up to. And also the name of my YouTube channel, which you're more than welcome to have a butcher's at. Now I have copied a link of my YouTube channel onto my iPad, so hopefully I will be able to share it if people do ask, although if I'm driving when people ask I won't be able to, but I am going to quickly go on to Twitch and see if it will allow me to actually pop it on there. That is if I can get on Twitch. Now this is, like I say, a you decide what I drive. Now at the moment it doesn't look like I've got any viewers, so I'll pick a car. But as the viewers come in, they'll be more than welcome to suggest a car. I'm also going to make a note of the cars that I do drive, so that when I come to put it onto YouTube I can actually list which cars we've had a bit of a blast in. Okay, let's see if it will let me paste. It will. That's fantastic. So it will let me post up a link to my YouTube channel, so that's good news. Downside is though, if anyone comes in later, they won't be able to see the link. But there we go. Admittedly though, over the last day or so, there's one of the viewers, Paul WKD side. I don't know if that's because he likes WKDs or whether he's just wicked, but he has been helping us out quite nicely when people have asked for a link to the YouTube channel. He has happily popped the links up. Okay, now I am going to enlarge my screen so I can use full screen, and then we're going to go and pick a car. Now I will admit it is ridiculously hot here today. I've had most of the windows open for most of the day, but the room I'm in, I've closed the window, otherwise the neighbours may hear me shouting, swearing and what have you. Okay, let's just quickly check the gameplay options. No assists on, as we can see. I haven't got fuel or tyre wear on or any mechanical failures, and damage is only on visual because we are only here to have a bit of a laugh, or for you to watch me crash, whichever comes first. Okay, so I'm going to pick the first car. I'm not really going to play about with setups unless the cars particularly need them. I know what I want to go for. I'm going to go and jump in a GT3 Porsche. It's been a while since I've driven one of these. So let's try and find one with a nice sexy livery on it. That one's a bit wild. Bear, rah. Okay, we'll find one that we like eventually. I know a few people have said that they they'd like to be able to do their own liveries on this, and I get that, but at the same time, what would you rather have? A decent racing game or to be able to do liveries? Maybe a bit too much to ask for both, but if the choice was there of one or the other, I know which I would choose. Okay, so I doubt very much I've got a setup on this car. Let's go and find a track to go and have a race around. I will need to check the settings as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do for this first one, I'm just going to close my eyes, scroll down the list a bit, and wherever it stops, holy crap, is where we're going to go for a race. Okay, well, I did say wherever it stops, we're not doing 6 laps. I think we'll knock it down to 2. Now let's go for 3. Number of opponents, let's go for maximum. Type of class, type of opponents, let's go with identical. And we'll leave that on 90. Rolling start, yes, might as well. Qualifying, yeah, I'll put qualifying on so that I'll start at the back of the grid. Let's check the conditions, I want it clear, that'll do for me. And I think we're ready. Now I've put the qualifying session on, but that is so that the computer cars can get to put a qualifying lap in, so they can try and space themselves out relevant to their speed. Now really, with this being the Nordschleife, I probably should do some setup work. I think what I might do in the qualifying session is just nip out on track, see how the car's handling, get to the long straight and see if the gears are long enough, because if the gears are just way too short for that bit, then I will need to adjust them. But for these types of sessions where the viewers are going to choose what I drive, I'm not really going to play about with setups much. The idea is we just go into a race and have a race, and next race change car and so on. I'm trying to think if I've actually driven the GT3 Porsche around this track. I can't think that I have. I'm just going to hit drive, return to pit so I can just pop the monitor on for a moment. See, we've got quite a few cars in the pit lane. And obviously I've got it set on identical class, so they are all in Porsche GT3s. Which means really we probably should do a lot of setup work because all the cars are identical, but we're not going to bother, because if I could spend 4 hours doing setup work and not actually doing a race, and the idea is to do a race. Looks like they're going out in order at the moment. Oh no, he's jumped the gun. Perhaps that's me sat there in the pits. No, it's not. If I remember rightly, I've got the a green bonnet. Now the Nordschleife, one of the most difficult racetracks in the world. How they used to race F1 cars around here, I don't know. But I do remember the likes of Jackie Stewart saying, when you're taking an F1 car around a racetrack, it should not be getting airborne, and they were getting airborne every lap. Okay, so most of the cars have already gone out. There's a few that are still on the way out, so I'm just going to give them a moment so I can try and get a little bit of clear air, clear track, and then I will nip out. I want to take the fuel out of the car as well. I will nip out, get to the long straight, so I'm going to do about a lap and just give myself a chance to see how the car's handling and whether we need to adjust the gears. For the most part, if I do need to make setup changes, the gears is probably the only sort of change that I'm going to go with. While I'm here, actually, I may actually just look at what ratio the gears are set to. Yeah, I think they're going to be quite a little bit too short. Oh, excuse me, make sure we put some nice soft tyres on. Now, like I say, I could sit here and play about with setups for hours, but I have given myself a maximum 4-hour limit for this live stream, so that when I do convert it over to YouTube, it's not in lots of little clips. I can just do it in a couple of longer clips. Now, usually the Porsche GT3s are quite nice handling cars. How it's going to handle the base setup around the Nordschleife, I have no idea. And obviously doing this kind of stream where the viewers choose what I drive, I'm not really going to get a lot of practice. So unless they pick cars that I've driven a lot in, chances are we're not going to have much of a setup or much experience in the car. So I am putting myself out there to end up doing lots of bad driving. Okay, we're already in 6th gear. Now if we top it out down this bit, which we're not far off doing, we know the gears are way too short. Now the left-hander we're coming up to at the top of this hill, some cars you can take it flat, some cars you can't. I'm going to try it flat. It can't. I had to try it though, so that when I come to the race I know whether I need to slow down or not, and I will need to slow down. Now the LMP1s, F1 cars and so on, they'll take it flat out quite comfortably, unless you get it wrong. But for most of the cars you do have to have a bit of a back off. Now one thing I used to do on Gran Turismo around this track, if you wanted to test your gears, instead of actually doing a whole lap and getting to the long straight, come out the pits, turn round, go the wrong way, drive the wrong way up the straight, get to the other end, turn around, come back, and it's a quicker way of finding out if your gears are long enough or not. Now I do think the gears are going to be too short. Now the car is a tiny bit understeery at the moment, which we can try and compensate for, because like I say, I'm not going to play about with the setups. Excuse me. Now if you are watching this, obviously I would guess that you have seen the title of the live stream, so feel free to sit there and think about what class of car or particular car you'd like to pick, and then for the next race I shall open it up to the viewers to choose the next car, and it will be first on the chat to mention a car is what I'll use, unless it's a car where I just say no, I'm not driving that today. But now if you do want to send me messages, you're more than welcome to. Although they won't pop up on my TV screen because I've got the enlarged view on. Ooh. I have got my Sony pad next to me. Now while I am on track and driving around, I won't be reading the messages, especially on a track like this, because it will just make me crash, because instead of looking at where I'm going, I'll be looking to the side of me. But once I have finished laps, races or what have you, I will catch up with the messages, and quite often you'll find that you may ask a question that somebody else who is watching may be able to answer on my behalf. car's definitely a little bit understeery. Okay, it's a lot understeery, but we'll get used to it. How are you going to handle the jump? Not bad. Okay, so I reckon it is going to top out down here, but we'll see what we get up to and see if we do need to lengthen the gears. Now, the interesting thing about this particular straight is quite a lot of it is uphill, so sometimes you won't get up to the sort of speed that you may expect to. So from here it's definitely uphill. It's not quite topping out yet, but pretty much levelled out on speed. Okay, topping out. Not quite. But I do want to put the gears a tiny little bit longer. At least then, if I get a bit of slipstream down that straight, I will be able to use it. Also, quite a few of the corners, I tend to have a rhythm around a lot of tracks that I like to try and stick to regardless of the car. So I did notice there was occasions where I was using third gear instead of second. Third gear was a little too long, sending me wide. Second gear was a little too short. So oh, it's a big jump. Oh, you pain in the backside. We may have to stick with it. Oh, we're gonna have to. You son of a gun. I could have done with just been able to adjust the gear slightly there. Okay, quick think, Dave. Do you want to do it? No. Okay, right. I'll tell you what we'll do instead to try and help with that little bit of understeer. We'll knock two on the front aeros. Right, okay. Now I'm going to skip to the end of the session, so we're going to start the race from the back of the grid, and we'll see how much carnage we have. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Glock. How is America today? Now the first 10-15 corners around here could be absolute carnage, because the cars ahead are going to accelerate, brake, accelerate, brake. There will be some car parks, because just as you sort of get up to speed, stuff like this is going to happen, and it's going to happen up here as well. And I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, sorry about that. Sneezed and got overtaken, but I still stayed on the road. Right, okay. Oh, he didn't like that. I'm going to have to try and catch him up now. I think adding that one on the front aeros may have just made it a little too perky on the front end. Maybe I should have just gone with the longer gear. Gone under braking. Oh, F off, you sod. Right. Okay, give me a moment. I'm going to exit from that. I don't like what I've done with the front end there, and I am going to lengthen the gears. I mean, usually slipstream does pretty much always have an effect, but it did have slightly more effect there than I was expecting, and the front additional aeros just made the front end gripping too much, so I think we'll go with living with the slight understeer on that one. As I did mention at the start, I'm not going to play about a lot with setups because I could sit here all day playing about with setups. This is just a right, let's pick a car, go for a race. If I am going to adjust setup, it is pretty much going to be gears, and that's going to be about it. Well, gears and fuel, and that will be about it. It is unbelievably hot here today. Ridiculously hot. I'm glad that I've stocked up with a couple of bottles of water next to me, because I've got a feeling I'm going to need them. And the annoying thing is, it's supposed to get hotter and hotter up until the weekend, where it's going to get even hotter. But so I'm hoping for a few thunderstorms at some point, so I'm just going to stand out in the rain and cool down a bit. I'm not too bad, mate, apart from being absolutely ridiculously red hot. But okay, now adjusting the gears like this could just totally screw me over, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, so straight into the race. Oh, I will admit, the Nordschleife is not the easiest of races to start off on, but we'll see how we get on.
The start is coming up, get ready, keep out of trouble and good luck.
There's another difficult thing when you around this many cars that are going to be accelerating, braking, is for most of the cars on this, if you slow down, get off the brakes, and then dab the brakes again, it's very easy to lock it up, spin it round. So ideally you want to do your braking all in one go.
Try and stop this guy getting underneath you. Cover that inside line.
I'm taking it a little bit cautious at the moment, just trying to give the tyres a chance to get up to temperature. And the brakes, come on Dave, what the hell was that? Right, let's go and catch them up. It is easily possible that I may have put the gears way too long now, but we'll see how we get on. Okay, it's just snapping under the brakes. He didn't do that in the qualifying. But I would have been running heavier fuel in qualifying. I want to see some cars ahead. I think the gears maybe a little too long. It did not like being in there. We can see cars. Now don't balls it up now, Dave. Oh, you sod. I just gave it a little dab of the brakes then before the bump, just to try and settle the car. Had completely the opposite effect. So I think next time we approach that, we're just going to go at it flat out. Now hopefully down here the longer gears are going to help us, especially if we can tag onto their slipstream. We're doing the same speed we was doing anyway, so that's not too bad. Well, I would have expected a little more speed. Oh, he ain't stopping. Ah, come on, boy. I need to warm up more. Now you may be watching this thinking, this guy can't effing drive. At the moment, maybe not. Usually, yes. But I am in a car with no setup on it. Sitting in about 80 degrees or more temperature. And I didn't do any warming up before I put the live stream on. I get as many excuses out there as I can. You're not a racing driver unless you've got them. come on, man. It is not handling
Okay, you've
the
got a warning from the race director for
bumps
cutting the track.
at all.
Try and respect the track limits, keep it between the white lines.
Well, that's I could spend an absolute bloody age playing about with setups, but that's not what this live stream is all about. It's just about jumping in a car, going for a race. However, this one I am now regretting. I mean, I will admit, I expected the Porsche to handle a lot nicer around here. Considering how for example, the Lotus 98T handles with a standard setup, I would have expected this to have handled better than that. You don't need to slow down that much, youth. It's an absolutely flat out corner. I mean, I braked, I'd say, a lot more than I would have done had I been there on my own. But he obviously doesn't have any faith in his car or his ability. Either that or he's just brake testing me.
See if you can pull a trick on him and slow down in the middle of the last corner and try and punch away onto the straight and break the slipstream.
I'd rather just drive away from him. Come on fella, speed up, 'cause if I have to keep dipping the brakes, it's going to spin out on me. That's it, you go offline. Thank you. Right, okay, last time I dipped the brakes up here. I'm not going to do it. to go. This has definitely not been one of my better races. Come on, catch that slipstream. Come on. Be on that. They're definitely not as brave around that corner as I like to try and be.
Some pressure from the guy behind. You'll need to brake as late as you can. You may need to cover the inside line.
Whoa, fella, what was going on there? Go on, go ahead. I'll overtake you properly. If he doesn't sneak past on the inside. I can only guess that he had a bit of a wiggle, which meant he had to get off the throttle. Either that or again is trying to slow me down. Thing is, it won't work. It just gets shunted. I mean, if I was taking this seriously and I was up against humans in a league race, then I would definitely sort of use my rule of thumb, which is you can only go as fast as the car ahead. So if that means that you have to brake early, drive slow to not hit them, then that's what you have to do. Obviously there are occasions though when people do, like if you've got differences of ability, where people will take corners slow when they can actually be taken very, very fast. That's when you can have some rather big, nasty accidents.
Nice overtake there, very smooth.
I'll try and keep a nice tight line there, and he turns in on me. Come on, catch it. Ah, can't turn the bloody wheel enough there. You're not coming through. This is probably one of the messiest Nordschleife races I have ever had. I'd say big part is the temperature that I'm feeling at the moment, and also this car is just terrible around here. For a car that is absolutely planted at most tracks around here, it is fairly poor on the standard setting. I mean, obviously if I did play about with the setup, I'd probably get a lot more out of it, raise that ride height so it can cope with these bumps and curbs a bit better. And when I first got project cars, this was actually one of my more preferred cars, simply because of how nice it drove. But I mean, having said that, now I really like the Mercedes C Coupe in the touring car class, but I know for a fact if I brought that here, it would be even worse than this. Because of the current setup that's on it. The standard setup for it around this track is not nice. It can't handle bumps, it can't handle curbs, it can't handle corners, it can't handle braking, which is really odd because they're all the things that it's really, really good at somewhere like Le Mans. Well, thank God that one's over. Well, that's one way to get yourself warmed up. I'm now sweating a lot. Okay. Catch up with some messages. Evening, Ray. Still not taking the in-car wheel off. No, on the touring cars I keep it on. Also, my seating position, my wheel doesn't line up with the screen at the moment. So, and I mean, as I've mentioned to you before, what I do with my wheel pretty damn matches what happens with the wheel on screen. So, but yeah, at the moment, my seating position, I could have my wheel at the right sort of, like, raise it up higher so that it's in the right sort of position. But if I did, the stand that it's on would be extended too much. I would get way too much wobble out of it. No air conditioning here. And yeah, I mean, usually the Rough does drive absolutely fantastically, but standard setups on a lot of cars around this track isn't particularly very nice. I mean, as I said a couple of times, I could sit here playing with cars, playing with setups, but that's not what the aim of this is. The aim is you guys that are watching get to pick what I drive. So if anyone would like to make a suggestion for a car that they would like to see me drive, or perhaps a car that they've been struggling with, feel free to come up with a suggestion. First on the chat will get accepted or declined depending on what car it is. Now, if you don't know what is available, we have these class of carts, please don't pick those, prototypes, road cars, GT cars, which is what that Porsche is in, touring cars, American stock cars, and open wheels. Do you mean the Merc C Coupe at the Nordschleife? Okay, that's odd. I have just had an email saying my wallet has been funded on PSN. I haven't added funds into my wallet on PSN. I'm going to have to check that out at some point. Oh, unless it's delayed a few days. Oh, it's my PS Plus membership. It does it automatically now. Fair enough. Kinda handy that. But at the same time, a bit frustrating. I prefer to just go and buy it myself. I'm not going to take the Merc C Coupe around the Nordschleife. I could, just to show you just how terrible it is. But Rehabilitate has suggested the American stock car, so we'll go with that. Now, I haven't driven this many times, only a couple of times. Let's go with the pink one. This is for you. Now this time I'm going to go to the bottom of the list. I'm going to close my eyes, scroll up a bit. Wherever we land, we're going to go at Alton Park Fosters. Now, which one is that? I'm not exactly sure which one that is, but we shall go and find out. Up the laps a little bit, as it is a shorter track. Put the cars down to 20. Now, this is not really the type of car that you'd want to drive around Alton Park, to be honest. 5 corners, bloody hell, it's a really small track. Definitely not the car to be driving around here. No, it's because you need to keep your missus happy. I'm not surprised she said what she did about a racing setup, Ray. But you have to sell some body parts to fund it. Okay, so the American stock car. Now I've got qualifying on. I'm not really going to try setting a qualifying lap. I am going to go and do a little bit of a warm-up lap, see if I need to adjust the gears and whether it'll allow me to adjust the gears. I'm going to knock the fuel out because I haven't got fuel usage on at the moment. Although sometimes knocking the fuel out can have a detrimental effect. Sometimes, obviously, the heavier the car, the more traction you can have. But also, the heavier your car, grip, yeah, Falcon. The heavier your car, the slower and lazier it can appear to be. Now I've got to try and remember that this has only got 4 gears, and also I need to learn this track. Now it says it's only got 5 corners, and there's turn 1, so I can't imagine the other corners are going to be of interest. Well, that's 2, 3, 4, sneaky dot. I'd say there's a little bit more than 5 corners, but I suppose it depends on what they are classing as corners. My God, the brakes are terrible in this.
Get ready to push hard. It's tight at the front. You need to get a few more tenths out of this car. Come on, you can do it. Blue flag, but let them through.
Ooh, big snap. At least that cancels the lap. car is horrible. But it's an American stock car for you. Terrible on the brakes, terrible on the steering, and terrible on grip. It can't take that at any kind of speed. Okay, let's cut a corner, get the lap cancelled. Don't touch any kind of curb and it just wants to spin. I'm going to cut a corner somewhere or go off to get the lap cancelled because I don't really want to set a qualifying lap. There we go.
Blue flag, here come the race leaders. Let them through.
Nope. Okay, bit of a glitch then. This car is so unbalanced. Right, let's change view so I can see. Not that that view is particularly helpful.
Got faster cars approaching, let them bite.
Oh, come on, brakes. Whoever picked this car, you're evil. It's bloody horrible, especially on this track. Well, I don't know if there's a glitch or whether there's just a nasty bump heading into turn one, but Every time I'm heading in there, I'm getting a horrible kick on the steering. Ah, that's why it went wide. But this does not bode well for the race though, with how easy they're just breezing past me. Just absolutely nothing on the brake pedal. Come on. I know you're a heap of junk, but Jesus.
Blue flag, here come the race leaders. Let them through.
I'm going to cut this corner, get the lap cancelled. I've just remembered, one of the things that's probably set on this car is weight balance from one side to the other, meaning that the car will turn better in one direction than another.
Blue flag, better let them through.
Well, if you want to know what it's like driving a boat down a river, this is it. Right. Now, I know I said I wasn't going to play about with the setup, so I don't really want to. But I just want to have a quick look. Bloody rear downforce 65.0. Really? Because it doesn't feel like it's got 65.0. Okay, lateral weight bias, left to right. This is a setting which can make a massive difference. I'm going to try and level it up a bit. That's set for basically taking the car around ovals. You want a weight balance to left or right, 4 ovals, so I am going to neutralise that. Hopefully that'll help us out a bit. And I'm also going to lower the ride height because this car is horrible. Simply put. Now, I could play about with loads of other bits of the setup, but I'm not going to. A little change on the gears. Let's go and see how horrible that is. Okay, I can see that I've seen I've got loads of messages come through. I will get to those in a moment. Give me a chance to just go and have a blast in this pink turd. I don't mean any offence by that. Well, let me just go and have a couple of laps in this. See if those couple of little changes I've made make it a little bit more drivable.
The car approaching, let them fight.
Now, I did say I wouldn't play about with setups too much, and I'm not going to, but if we do come across a car that is horrible to drive, like this one, that does need a few tweaks, I will make a few. definitely made it rather more drivable. I don't want to cross the line. So we'll skip to the end of the session then, and we'll go for a race, and let's see how much carnage we can cause here. I've just seen one of Glock's comments there. I actually didn't mind how the cars handled, the NASCARs handled on GT6. Oh well, GT5 was better, but you could get them handling and driving like a normal sort of race car, and also they did have fantastic top speed. I was trying to cover that line, he went for it anyway. I've got a feeling there's going to be a bit of carnage down here. Or should that be NAS carnage? If you're going to nudge me out wide, I'm going to fight back. Oh. Sneaky bugger. Too fast, come on, slow down. Oh, on the brakes there, just did not want to slow down. I was determined they weren't going to get up the inside on me that time. I balls the exit up and it went past anyway. Oh, come on! The brakes on this are absolutely diabolical. You may as well put dustbin lids there for brakes. And frustratingly, when you're up against AIs that just chuck it up the inside whether it's available or not, you brake the slightest bit too soon, they're going to chuck it up the inside anyway. I mean, one thing I wish that they had done on this is, because of the amount of cars and the different levels of setup and the amount of tracks, it would have been nice had they, instead of it being right, here's a default setup for the car, go and sort it out, which for some people isn't a problem, but for your bog standard pick up and play user, it would have been nicer. Come on, slow down, slow down. It would have been nicer had they sort of gone, right, okay, here's a base setup for each circuit. Now, admittedly, these cars aren't necessarily made for driving on a track like this, but with setup work, they will cope with it. Come on, computer, can you please overtake without crashing into me and sending me off track? It's what I try and do. There again, the brakes are shocking. The tyres are getting cold because the brakes aren't working. I think the NASCAR...
3-second lead now, keep the pressure on, stay consistent, focus on the lap time, keep pushing, keep pushing.
I think the NASCAR is then going to end up being on my do not drive unless you've done setup list. Because, I mean, it handles better once I've done that little bit of setup tweaking, but it's still far from really raceable. I mean, those first few laps I sort of had the impression that I'd be able to give it a good blast. But then for the next 2 laps, it's just been absolutely shocking. This is all over the place. It's like I haven't even got a steering wheel. Now, obviously, with the type of stream that I'm doing here, where I don't pick the cars, you do, it is obviously open to ending up being absolutely bloody terrible like that. Okay, let's catch up with some messages here, because there has been quite a few. For £400 then you want a cockpit. I'm not paying for a cockpit. Am I using a controller or wheel? It's a controller, T300 RS. Yeah, cheers Rehabilitate. I'm sure you excuse my language, loved that. I know I didn't. And I'm now sweating even more. I'm going to charge you for additional shower gel and dry cleaning on my towels. I mean, from GT6, I'm looking at Johnny Blump's messages now. On GT5 and GT6, I did love the NASCARs. I even went and bought the NASCAR game because I like NASCARs that much. Because I do like NASCARs, I like IndyCars as well. I just don't like how that handled. That needs some time and setup to be able to handle some racetracks. Rick 0724 heard they are adding ovals in a DLC. I would be surprised if they didn't, because cars like that NASCAR is set for ovals regarding that weight balance from left to side. And IndyCars would be good because I haven't seen a game that's really got IndyCars on it. Outside view, I don't like using outside view. It just gives a complete disconnect from what I'm doing with the car. And yeah, Glock's right. If you do watch NASCAR, they do drive pretty well for what they weigh. I mean, the amount of horsepower they've got. And the thing is, you can watch the in-car view, and sometimes it looks like sort of that impression of why aren't they going faster? You can hear them backing off in the middle of corners. You think, well, they're just going flat out. Well, it's because if they do, they'll crash. Well, I blindly chose the track. But yeah, you may be right, maybe a better feel. Cheesecake, hello, how are you? The G40 Juniors are good for most tracks. The G40s are fairly damn good. Is the ZR1 any good? Not sure. Is it Chevrolet ZR1? Corvette ZR1? Have they got that on this? I shall have a look. Rick's already answered it. ZR1 not in this game. On GT6 the Corvettes were fairly damn good on there. Funny because SMS and GT6 make American cars drive like crap. Yeah, that doesn't surprise. Risk is Rick. Huge GT6 fan. Will I like this? If you're a huge GT6 fan, I think you will like this. I would say this is a better game than GT6. Graphically, sound-wise, drivability, although setting the cars up is much more technical. Mini, the race cars drive better in project cars. Okay, he's answering that question. Every race game I've played on PS4 so far is not good to me. To be honest, Mini, that's because there hasn't been a racing game on PS4 that's been worth buying. Drive Club, waste of time. But it is an arcade game. This is much better. If you need a car game with mods, perhaps Project Cars on PC. If you want a car game with mods, it's going to have to be on PC. Or perhaps Forza, but on the PlayStation, PS4, you're not going to get mods. It just doesn't happen, which personally I like, because I mean, for example, the way I see it is I'm part of an F1 league on PlayStation, right? And if we did it on the PC, with the amount of modding that is available, what's to stop people from modifying their system, modifying their car, modifying whatever they bloody want to gain a massive advantage? You end up having to have loads of regulations, loads of rules, even more than we've already got, just to regulate what people are bringing to the track. But there we go. Right, can you up and down shift with the joystick like in Forza? Yes, you can, as long as the car you are in, well, I mean, say joystick, I'm guessing if you mean on a wheel with a gear shifter. On a controller, you can't use the analog sticks as up and down shift. If you've got a wheel with a gear shifter, you can use the gear shifter as long as the car you are in has a gear shifter. If the car you are in has paddle shifts, then you have to use the paddle shifts. PS4 need a mod car game? Personally, I don't think so. As soon as you start adding mods into games, personally I think it brings a load of problems, especially, like I said, if you want to do some kind of league racing or stuff like that. I mean, for example, I played on a friend of mine's PC on Assetto Corsa around Le Mans, right? Now, it was a modded Le Mans track. Now, they got the track layout fairly damn correct, but there was vital information on that track that wasn't there. Braking marker boards, braking marker points, curbs, different things like that. By it being a modded version, you don't get the real version. And if you were to sit there practicing for 600, 700, 800 hours, so using that as a simulator to go and have a race at Le Mans, when you get to Le Mans, you'd be screwed because the track would be different. But that's just my personal view. At the moment, Ray, I'm not going to, mate, because the cars these guys are picking taking a lot of concentration. Okay, I have a 69 Trans Am tune with 5.1% records. Or is that 51% records? You can race stock cars. Well, American stock cars on this. Yes. Right, okay, if anyone would like to suggest another car, although if it is something that is absolutely bloody terrible, I am gonna say no. Oh, Seth, you evil swine. What is this? Pushing beyond the limit today? Okay, we'll go for the Lotus 49. Right. I shall have a think about what track. Just need to check what email. I've had loads and loads and loads of emails come through in the last sort of 20 minutes. Right, okay. 51% records. Okay. Right then, the Lotus 49, an absolute bloody handful. Now, this is just about drivable. Now, I am actually going to pick a track. Now, this may be a bad choice. We shall just have to see. Right. Now, I do know I haven't got a setup on this car around this track, and this car does handle horribly as standard. I mean, you are right there, Seth. It isn't the worst with a good setup. When you've got no setup on, it's obviously a lot more tricky. Now, this isn't a car that I've actually sort of done a lot of setup work. I've got about 20 cars that I'm like, okay, I need to do some setup work on that one and some setup work on that one. But quite a lot of time I've not got round to it. Okay, and my wheel has decided to go spazzy all on its own. Let's quickly return to the pits, just while I note down what cars we've already driven. Now, this is where we'll probably find that the computers are going to absolutely fly around this track. Right. Now I'm going to go with the 1974 slicks. And I'm not going to drop all the fuel out of the car. Slightly tactical, that one. Going to cheat a little bit as well. Not that this car necessarily needs more power. Right, okay, I'm going to take it for a little bit of a drive. Now, if I do make a change, oh come on, let me out of the pits. Now, if I do make a change, it is more than likely going to be to the ride height. Well, can you tell the tyres are cold? Okay, we're going to need to lengthen the gears if we're topping it out on cold tyres at that point. We're going to top out even earlier. On warm tyres. this is a car that when it comes to actually doing the race is going to take quite a bit of concentration. Come on, turn. Now I'm going to have to do something for the steering because it is just absolutely terribly lazy. Oh, someone's had a big off. Oh, that'd have blown the engine if I wasn't careful. Oh, come on, boy. Steer that car. Okay, I'm going to have to do something about that. The amount of steering that it's just not doing is ridiculous. I'm taking a big gamble on the ride height there. There is quite a bit of camber for this car, but I am tempted to give it a little more. Okay, let's take a punt. Oh, come on. Getting a bit of a glitch here where it's not allowing me to leave the pits. Now the rear of the car's not feeling too bad, but because of how lazy the front end is behaving, I just can't get on the power, because if I do it's just going to push even further wide. And if I go for more steering angle, I'm just going to slide the tyres even more, because the grip just is not there. Try and build some temperature. And with the tyres being cold, I don't expect it to steer very well, but what it's like when they're warmed up will be more important. Ray, no, negative is more camber. And hello again, Wolfstone. Oh, he's still there. Now, through the Porsche curves on that occasion, the car did feel much better. Oh, gone massively wide there though. Then we'll have to go down from 5th gear before that kink. Come on, off the grass. Okay, I'm just going to test how good the brakes are or aren't into this chicane down here, and then we'll go into the race. The car setup isn't perfect, but like I say, I'm not here to play about the setups. I'm here to do races in cars that you choose, which at the moment are cars to completely stitch me up. Thank you very much. Well, let's just hope that the AI cars really struggle around here. I've got a feeling they won't. And from the races we've already done, they're in a very physical mood today. Okay, nice little drift out of that. So let's go for it. Let's see how bad this is going to be then. And let's also see if that car is still parked at the final corner. Someone's trying to push me off the road then. Go for a brave one. Don't go turning into me, fella. Now he is still next to me. This is for the lead. Bit too quick in there then. I must admit, I was not expecting to get out into the lead on before the end of lap one, but with the way the AIs were driving the car, kind of gave the impression that perhaps in that qualifying session I was just pushing a little bit too fast. I mean, the car is handling fairly damn nice. It is still a little, understeery, but come on. It is an extremely old car.
Gap to P2 is 7 seconds, that's what we like.
You never know, at this pace I might get to lap one of them, I doubt it. Too quick. Obviously, when it comes to F1 cars, there's a lot of people having many different discussions about what F1 should do, about its cost cutting and stuff like that. Personally, I reckon they should make F1 teams make a modern version of cars like this. No front wing, no rear wing. As basic as possible, as fast as possible, as safe as possible, but a proper machine that the driver has to drive. No electronics doing the business for him. Only needs a handful of buttons on his wheel, pit radio, pit limiter, safety car limit speed perhaps, a boot, like if it was a turbo car, a boost level switch. Balls that up, too busy talking. But for me, I mean, that would really spice up F1 racing. Oh, big glitch then. You then get rid of this problem of cars not being able to follow each other, because they're not going to be that aerodynamic anyway. And personally, I think they would look fantastic. When you think about it as well, I mean, you've got the likes of Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, Jenson Button, that have all driven old F1 cars, although it be more sort of Ayrton Senna's era, and they've all said they would love to race those types of cars, because it is back to basics. Man and machine, horsepower, big fat tyres, racetrack, let's go. I mean, you could even say, right, they've got to have a manual gear shifter. Because by having a manual gear shifter and a clutch pedal, excuse me, it brings in that possibility of messing up a gear change. Whereas now, the only time they mess up a gear change is if the gearbox is pretty much knackered. Oh, come on, Dave, focus. You may be miles ahead, but it doesn't mean you can drive like a noob. Well, I do like those cars. I mean, when I first got the game, obviously without doing anything to the setup or not really knowing anything about setups on here, I took them for a drive around Monaco, and it was a great laugh, but at the same time it was practically impossible. A few setup changes, the car's much more drivable, and much more fun to drive. Even when I do get popped to a little bit airborne. Right, okay, let's see, catch up with some of these messages. You've got Wheel Oil Pad, thank you Glock for answering that one. It is a Wheel T300 Thrustmaster. Thank you, WIs. Yes, it is it's the RS, it's not the Ferrari wheel one. What are you using? Oh, that's Ray asking him. Pad buddy. Do you know our Project Cars put some Ferrari or Lambos in the game as well? I don't know whether they are. I do know they are going to be adding new games, but to be honest, that's why they went slow there. To be honest, I'm not one of these that sort of keeps up to date with the forums and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a forum type person. I'm a racer. T300s are a very good wheel. T80s, T100s, don't bother with them. The T300 is very good. The new Logitech that's coming out, I'm sure that will also be very good. Well, the Thrustmaster T300 is now down to about 250 quid. I did not want to spend that amount of money on a wheel, and when I clicked yes, pay, I literally felt like I'd spent my whole life savings that I'd ever had in the whole world. But as soon as it turned up and I used it, I sat there and went to myself, that was money well spent. Money well spent indeed. So it's one of those things, if you can afford it, definitely worth getting a wheel. No guarantee you'll go quicker because it takes time to get up to speed. Okay, the offer's out there again for the viewers to pick another car, but don't forget, you may suggest one and I may say no. But feel free to comment and we'll see what we'll come up with. It was a good little drag race that, until he turned into me a bit down here. Oh, okay, maybe I did waft over the track a bit. You were Scotland. Limbonic Soul 666. Okay, I did start off in a GT3, but I will go into the GTs, and we shall pick one. I do love the sound of these cars as well. I mean, for a car that was made in what, the 1960s, they really knew how to make them sound. I'd rather have a PS4 and Xbox than a wheel. Admittedly, yeah, there's no point having a wheel and nothing to play it on. Can we do Silhouette GT Friday? Don't know, mate. I've not thought about Friday yet. Got a few things I've been dealing with before I think about Friday. Although, doing a bit of silhouetting, isn't that what people do with their hands as a shadow on the wall? Oh look, a dove. Oh look, a duck. Oh, Frogbear says GT4 BMW please. Ooh. You have both. Well, you just got too much money. You should be able to afford a wheel. Right, okay. Let's go and return to Race Central. Last week